Balaji, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you for this special session on winning in the digital world. Mohan, it's great to have you this morning, and I'm sure that you will have a wonderful presentation as usual. A renowned financial wizard, market regulator, and angel investor, you've become one of the most influential voices of industry today. As a passionate technology evangelist, you've got the country excited about digitization and disruption. Many thanks for doing this session, and we look forward to an electrifying presentation. Mr. Balaji, thank you for joining us. You're a respected leader of the Indian telecom industry and have played an important role in the growth of voice and data communication in the country. Welcome to this session. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is digitizing at a breathless pace. Everything is going digital, whether it's work, entertainment, business, politics, education, conversation, and even relationships. The dependence on data flows has increased to a level of indispensability. This is changing the way the economy is organized and operates. Succeeding in this brave new virtual world demands a completely new know-how and mindset. The advent of 5G will revolutionize the economy further. With its ultra-high-speed data connectivity, it will diminish the separation of spaces even more. A gigabyte per second data speed will allow machines to form networks and become significantly autonomous. Machines will take over a substantial part of production and innovation work, and organizations and individuals will have to make big adjustments to remain the master of machines. We are pleased to have Mohan, therefore, give us a panoramic view of the digital age and the digital future, and tell us how to win in this new digital age. A former CFO and board member of Infosys, he's been celebrated leader of India's IT services industry. Now he's an educationist and investor, and promoting excellence in higher education as well as tech entrepreneurship. He's one of India's most prolific angel investors and has helped start 10 funds for financing startups, growth and markets. He leads Aaron Capital, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, a private equity fund that supports education and life sciences companies. I'd now like to request Mohan to make his presentation.
Folks, this presentation is about winning in the digital world. And why is it important? Because the world has changed. And the past is not going to come back. We are in a new era altogether. Just look at this data. 7.7 billion people on this planet, and 5.1 billion people are mobile internet users. That means everybody is on the same platform, and about 4.5 billion nearly are on internet, and active social media is 3.5. So the way we communicate, the way we learn, the way we act is all changed in a very dramatic manner all over. Look at India, 1.36 billion people, 560 million people on the internet, and active social users 310. And now the generation that is coming into work is all a digital generation. How they think, how they act is very different from possibly what we did. I don't think anybody has seen a rotary phone or a physical typewriter or maybe many of the things that we saw. And now we're going to see electric cars, we're going to see autonomous cars, and you're going to see a whole new way of life. But the biggest disruption of all is we're on the same platform where we can work synchronously, asynchronously, 24/7, all part of the world, networked together. And many of us worry that if you're off, let's say WhatsApp or maybe the internet, the world may sink. So we got to be there all the time. And many people wake up at night in different points of time and try to see whether the world is still okay. And we've seen the most powerful man in the world tweet at 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, I think he's in some pain at that point of time. But he tweets and changes the course of human history, changes the course of the physical markets. Now, why is it happening? This is important. It's backed by a connectivity boom. The digital platforms have overtaken physical platforms. So there's been a clear change, and the change is accelerating. It's happening all over, and there's a great network impact that has come into being. And this network impact is what has happened. The last great disruption happened around 1825 when the world went off patent for the steam engine and the age of the machines came. The age of the machines created a global supply chain to connect producers to consumers, and those who are part of the global supply chain did very well. And for a period of time, the people who in the supply chain post-manufacturing did much better because the manufacturers were the hands of people who could supply consumers. Now, this supply chain is getting disrupted because you can reach consumers directly. You don't have to be a part of that. Just because you're on the internet, you can do trading, and that's why e-commerce has become very important. Alibaba has got millions of people, and they can sell for MSME goods from China to the whole world. They take care of logistics, payments, and everything else, and it never happened before because they were not part of the global supply chain. Now, every individual is part of the global supply chain, and that's the impact of the networks. So, internet users, digital penetration is capturing the entire globe. You've seen this data. Transaction by payment channels. Look at this. 60% of transactions are digital in terms of payments. 950 million transactions are on UPI in India. Everybody can do a mobile transaction. India has the cheapest mobile payment app in the world because you can transfer money from one account to another seamlessly through the payment system in 30 seconds. And then mobile video usage. The world is going to mobile to video. And video usage has dramatically changed all over the world and in India. So people communicate by video. And all studies say that people understand video better than talking to somebody because when you see video, you're seeing the eye, you are hearing, and you are assimilating inside, right? The sight that you get and the ear goes to your brain to process, and you see something else, and you can retain those images in your mind. New consumption themes. This is an extraordinary slide. You know what this is? This is Twitch, where you go to a portal to see people playing digital games. Can you believe it? You play digital games and people are watching. It's like a stadium where you watch cricket. But you're on a portal where you're watching people playing games. And it's got millions of users. Now look at this change. This is unbelievable. Number of viewers to 50 million users. This is what is disruption, the speed of change. Can human beings cope up with this change is something that all of us have to think. And now, 19 days, Pokemon had to go to 50 million, Twitter 2 years, and in our own country, Jio went to 50 million users, I think, in 2 quarters, just 2 quarters. And this is a rapidity of change that could come. So nothing is the same anymore in the world. Now, the early movers dominate the market. The most valuable company is Microsoft. The second most valuable may be Apple, maybe Alphabet. But look at the top. Look at the top 10 globally. This change. IBM. We always brought up an IBM. Where is IBM? So everything goes. Nothing is the same. You're on top, then you come down. The world goes full cycle. Creative destruction is accelerating, and you can see the value that's being created by the new entrants. The winners look vulnerable. Winners always look invulnerable, but they're not. So what is great yesterday may not be great tomorrow. And this is accelerating very, very fast. Now, what about digitized in enterprise? We're all business people, we're all managers, and we must look at digitized enterprise. Now, in enterprise, there is a leap in generation of data. Data is going up. The quantum of data is accelerating. All of us are pieces of data. We have a physical existence. We are a human being. We got a heart. We got a brain. But we are all pieces of data in the digital world. The data can be assembled, reassembled. A psychometric analysis can be done, and your mind can be controlled. Because the mind that drives you. So your hard disk is inside. The processing happens inside. It happens by weak electrical currents. And that's what is trying to be controlled because what you see is what is processed. And now that is something that's happening because the data generation has gone up. Access. Everybody's got access. And today the cost of access has come down. In India, for example, you can get unlimited data for 100 rupees, $1.5 a month. And Indians consume 11 GB of data a month per user. America consumes only 2.85 GB. America is backward. India is way ahead, 11 GB. Can you believe that? Because of Jio. Jio is a disruption. And Indians see 67 minutes of video a day. That is pretty good. We have a lot of people doing nothing. I mean, they can see more video. And Ravi Shankar Prasad tells the story of Sarama in rural Andhra Pradesh, 80 years old, living in a hut in a remote village. And she told him, I'm also digital. He said, what is that? Then she said, I talk to my grandson in Dubai by, FaceTime. Can you imagine? I'm an old woman in a remote village. I got a device alone. I talk to my grandson in Dubai. Just press a button. It's magic. And it's happening. And Indians are doing it. So video is a big, big disruption, and that's going to grow. And then storage. Cost of storage has come down because of the cloud. Where is the cloud? In the cloud. So when you start a company, don't need a data center. A laptop, and the AWS will give it to you free. Everybody gives it to you free, $100,000 of storage free. So start something, and voila, you are in business. You are in business immediately. You couldn't be in business. You earlier set up a data center, hire a data administrator, invest, all that is gone. And how many governments will give you free laptops too? Leap in compute. This is interesting because Moore's law is coming to an end. The ability of the silicon chip to generate data and speed is coming to an end. Now there's something called quantum computing. Quantum computing is parallel processing 0 and 1 on a massive scale. It consumes a lot of energy, but it can go up 5x to 6x, the fastest computer today. And that is going to change matters because computing on the edge can be very fast. Now what is computing on the edge? Just imagine you have an autonomous car, and the autonomous car gets signals because it's like radar or lidar or whatever, Vinita says, and then the signals process the data, but the chip has to be pretty fast and processing capacity because you are going at 100 kilometers. Now this processing capacity has to be faster, and that is coming up in a very big way. We went to NASA under Sunil and Rekha, and we saw this thing called a quantum computer, isn't it? It's a little bit bigger stuff, because see, we are human beings. We want to see stuff. It can't be somewhere, and it actually is there, and it was funded by Google. And the problem is the energy consumption is improving another 2 to 3 years. Then it can break the cryptographics. All the securities are in cryptographics. It can break that and break all algorithms because of fast processing power, and that means you've got to be careful. Algorithmic techniques. Now what is AI? AI is an algorithm which runs and processes data and then learns by itself to come to decisions and conclusions. What does your brain do? I see you. I get an image, it goes to my brain, it compares with memory, processes this, and tell me it is Sunil. Why? Because I know Sunil, I've seen him earlier, his image is stored in my mind, right? Then when I see Sunil, I see his likeness, I smile at him, I know about him, everything is processed. It happens automatically. But a machine cannot do that. Because the machine, you put in data, you write software, you get output. Now what does the machine do in AI? You have an algorithm that trains the machine because the multiple images are all stored, thousands of images are stored. So when the machine sees through a camera Sunil, it takes the image, compares that with the memory and comes and says Sunil. And because all the data about Sunil is stored, it comes and says this is Sunil, Sunil does this, blah, blah, blah. And then you can train the machine by tagging along the piece of data. So machines get trained, they become autonomous, they can decide for themselves. And here in facial recognition, visual recognition, China has got millions of cameras all over. So you go somewhere, it catches your face, and somebody knows where you are, what you are, because everybody's face is there because they got the database. So you see in this some of this Tom Hanks, that movie, right? Mission Impossible, right? You go and you see where anybody is and all that. And the Google Maps, I'm told, is the best thing that happened to America's National Security Agency. Because they know through Google Maps exactly who is where, any part of the world. And they control it. They control GPS, they control everything, all the maps everywhere. They know what they are. They can trace you, they can do what they want. And the fidelity has gone to 97, 98%. And Google voice recognition. And voice recognition is pretty good because I can speak to you in English and the computer will translate that to Hindi in a second. My machine has been trained to translate. The sound that is there is put into data pieces, and the data pieces are stored, and it is compared to another language, and then it goes out. So you see that ad in the TV nowadays about the two Japanese girls coming in Kyoto, where you go speak in English, and they hear the voice in Japanese. It works, and it works very well. And that's what his AI can do. And this is what is done to eliminate the machine to beat a chess player. The best chess player is beaten because it's parallel processing. The best Go player has been beaten. So machines are doing better. So we are in the era where machines have got intelligence. Not intelligence, lateral intelligence like us, a long way off, but intelligence based on data and pattern recognition and data processing on a scale that is impossible to come. And the machine can go on doing it. It just requires power. No salary hike. I'm going to talk about it later, so all of you in HR, be careful. So what does it mean for enterprise? Deep learning, evidence-based learning, machine learning system, prescriptive analytics, natural language, text mining, etc. So digitization is a process by which you can collect data, you can process data, and derive better results than human beings because you can do it faster. Can human beings do things that machines can't do? Of course. Machines are maybe 20% of a human's capacity, but machines are tireless. And machines can process enormous amount of data, and not many people can process enormous amount of data. Now look at this convergence of technology is something that you must see, because the technologies are coming together at a rapid pace. When multiple technologies come together, like big data analytics, IoT, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, etc., and they come in the same period of time, there's going to be an explosion. And that's the point of time, there's an inflection point, and the world changes. And the world changes not for all of us, to those who have it. And it's going to be a small class. And that's why the wealth between the top 1% and 99% is going up. So society is in for great disruption too. Labor productivity is stagnated because in the last 10 years, all around the world, you use machines and computers and software, and it came to a stage when it was the peak. Now, because of quantum computing and AI, productivity will go up again. That means you need lesser people to do more. So what are these people going to do? I'll tell you about that later. Now, this is a very dense slide, as consultants do, because consultants are going to make it complex to make more money. And here you can see the sectors, and you can see the processes and where the advantages are. So you can improve efficiency, and digitization has two components. Combined value of digitization to industry, net impact on jobs, minus 3 million for consumer, that is in commerce, in retail, and some jobs will go up, in some the jobs will come down. And if you say there's going to be no impact on jobs, this is not the industrial revolution. Large part of the world have got high per capita income, high consumption, right? And then for them, the jobs that they do, the middle class jobs are gone, because in America in the last 10 years, 10 million jobs which are there in the middle paying $150,000, $250,000 are gone. They're not going to come. The jobs are being created at the bottom, and jobs are going to be created at the top. What do industry leaders do? Now, this is an interesting slide. Data proves that industry leaders are ahead of the people who are not leading, and the gap delta has gone up tremendously. That is the message. It's not that industry leaders are ahead. They're always ahead, but they're getting ahead and getting an unfair advantage, and you can see this growth. So how has digital changed China? Why China? Because China is where it took place, and you can see the impact. Just like you could see the impact of the Industrial Revolution in the UK, in Great Britain, in 1820, 1850, you can see it in China. China has a scale advantage, total internet users, mobile internet users, digital natives, etc. Digital natives are people who are only on the digital world, and this is very big, and it's a big country. And focus on digitalization has reaped growth. Mobile payments, China is a clear global winner. And if you look at e-commerce, China is a clear winner. If you look at number of unicorns, China is a winner. The US is there, but China is fast catching up. Now, like somebody said yesterday, Vikram said yesterday, why is it a trade war? The trade war is there because America is the sole hegemon after the Soviet Union fell. Sunil keeps telling us that. Now you have a new hegemon and a great power coming up, challenging America in technology, and China wants to spend $150 billion to beat America in AI by 2022. $150 billion. They got $4 trillion in reserve. The government will spend, create capacity, human capital and physical capital. And that threat to the United States is what is leading to Trump going and taking the charge. So India is somewhere in between. When Sunil took us to the United States, we read this about $150 billion, Sunil, am I right? And we were worried, what's going to happen to India? Because, nothing is happening here in AI. I mean, companies are doing a lot of stuff. And the Niti Aayog is actually working on a beautiful plan, AI plan for India at $1.5 billion for 5 years. And China is spending $150 billion. But we went to Google, Facebook, NVIDIA, we went to and other companies, and we went to Apple, Intel, etc. Intel we're going now. We were happy because about 30% of the staff in AI were Indians. At least the Indians who escaped the orbit of India and went to the United States are working in AI. Hopefully some of them may come back, or we could invest in those companies led by Sunil, and that'll be interesting because at least the Indian will have that AI ability. And leveraging technologies, efficient processes allow them to scale. Now, scale is important. How does Baba's sell $35 billion in one day? I mean, it requires a lot of sale. Supply chain, everything, delivery, right? They allow proceed to scale up. And scale up happens only because of technology. Mobile payment users, you've seen this, and you've seen accelerated growth. In the top 20 companies who are digital, China has got the largest share with the US. We are not there yet. I think Flipkart or somebody will come up if they still are around 2 years from now. The scale the digital ecosystem allows them to become ecosystem orchestras. Now that's interesting. What do? Because I'm big, I'm controlling the ecosystem, I invest in a lot of companies, and because I invest in a lot of companies, these companies create a whole ecosystem of their own. For example, there's the Baidu ecosystem, Tencent ecosystem, and the Baba ecosystem. The Tencent has got investment in 750 companies. They create their own ecosystem. Local food delivery, autonomous cars, electric cars, all kind of stuff, and they got the money to do it. They're earning enormous amount of money. In India, we have not seen these ecosystem orchestras put in money and create portfolios. Maybe Jio is trying to do that. Jio has got a lot of money. The internet giants are seeding the next frontier of growth because they're taking the lead in China. The China model is to be a hegemon, you create baby hegemons, and they create their own ecosystem, and they invest, led by the government. So digitization has created a productivity revolution, which will contribute $5 trillion to China by 2030. So productivity is increasing, and China actually produces less babies than India. India produces 25 million babies a year. China is 15 now. We actually got an edge on China. The number of young people are going to come, but I don't know whether it's a plus or a minus. Now, China's TV's network, look at this. So the ability of TV to control a mind is gone. Of course, Arnab is doing very well. I hope it continues to do well. But other TV channels, many people say we don't see TV anymore. They see digital, they're all on the web, they're all on the mobile. How is digital training India? Now look at this. India has got 1.2 billion mobile phones, 900 million mobile connections. Smartphones have come up about 500 million today. And we have got payments which are 950 million. Digital payments are overtaking physical payments. And data has become lower cost. And the video has gone up to the roof. So a lot of things are happening in India. We are 5 years behind China. And these are the ground, these are the back of the software service industry. We have a unique advantage which China doesn't have. On tech talent and human capital, we are ahead. We don't have enough in AI, but in human capital, because the software service industry, we export $137 billion, which has the street value of $200 billion. The world makes $600 billion of software. 30% is done in India. 60% global outsourcing comes to India. Of the top 10 software service companies by market value, 5 are Indian. The most valuable service company is TCS, not IBM. TCS is number 1. Of the 2 million employees in the top 10, 1.5 million are Indians. Of the 4.5 million people working in the Indian IT industry, 2 million work for American companies. There are 6 million software engineers in America. 1 million are Indians. 2 million work for them here. Out of 8 million, 3 million work. 3 million are Indians. Uncle Trump, we should send this slide to him. And then, this is feeding off into startups. Because the most important thing for startups is to have engineering, because you can have an idea how to engineer, how to grow. About India, if somebody comes with an idea, within 6 months, there are 50 companies coming up. In Southeast Asia, somebody comes with an idea, in 6 months, there could be one other company. In China, there'll be 50 companies. So we got enormous amount of talent, and in the startup industry, we got 40,000 startups today, 34 unicorns, will be 100,000 startups employing 3.25 million people by 2025, and $500 million of value, and we will have 100 unicorns. I mean, there's a report about Delhi having more unicorns in Bangalore. Well, there's a slight problem with the data. I don't want to spoil the joy here. India got $50 billion. India got $50 billion of capital. And over the last, from 2014 across 3,700 deals, only 10% is from India, 5 billion. So I got good news for you. India is going to become a digital colony again. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to become a digital colony because our capitalists are not investing enough money. Sunil does, he is an exception, but they're not investing enough money. And only 5 billion out of 550 billion has come from India. So our best companies, biggest companies, fastest growing companies are going to be headquartered outside. And you can see it's Delhi, Bangalore, and Bombay. And we got $13.7 billion in 2017, $11 billion in 2018. And, and we got 34 unicorns. So we'll have 100 unicorns by 2025. Yes, Prime Minister Modi kicked it off, and he recognized them. That's good news. And if you see this, India's new business backbone. Every industry, every country requires business backbone. In the digital world, a business backbone is based upon the Aadhaar coverage. Almost everybody's got Aadhaar. I asked Manohar Parrikar, we were 1.35 billion people. We got 1.23 billion Aadhaar. There are every year 25 million children are born. Up to 5 you may not get. What is the problem? He said, look, there are many people who are dead. They still got their Aadhaar is there in the digital base. So even after you die, your identity will be saved. You may come back. We believe they're going to come back. So monthly UPI transactions gone to 20 billion and Jan Dhan account 350. No country has opened 350 million bank accounts in 4 years. So you must give credit to India. Poor India gets abused every day in the media. We are bad, we are this. But look at this. It's unbelievable. So even China has not done it. And then if you look at the right, DBT savings, etc., I think Ravi Shankar Prasad spoke about that. And this is a slide which is beautiful, right? Okay? 34 unicorns and about 25 Soonicorns will be unicorns by 2020. This is all done by somebody called Ink42 from Delhi, an extraordinary digital media company. And Baiju is our company. We gave 9 million at 20 million pre 5 years ago, and now they're worth 5.6 billion. And now Baiju has taken over the Indian cricket team. They all wear the Baiju thing. The Solang, Oppo, Gippo, and all the Chinese, now they've come back to India. Dil to Hindustani hai. We need an Indian company to send Panam. Only Indian company has to spend the Panam. They're spending the Panam. And look at this. Corporate participation venture is gaining traction. We need more Indian companies to do this, because this is a cutting edge, but Indian companies are behind the curve. So India Stack is the greatest piece of public use software after Linux in the world. First Unix, then Linux. And because of India Stack, India has a unique advantage. This is done by volunteers in Bangalore and is free for use. And this has helped India improve digitization. Aadhaar has helped India do eKYC, digital locker, and everything is free. And it's taken us 10 years from 2010. A lot of effort, lot of work. Look at the disruption in India. Demonetization, then we had GST, then we had IBC, we had the RERA, we had the bank NPS, and we had the NBFC crisis. So Indian industry today is very tired. They can't take it anymore. That's the problem with Indian industry. Whatever government does, there's no response because everybody is so tired. They're just given up. Right, Mr. Swami? I think everybody is given up now because they say, what can we do? I gave a talk to the Indian machine tool manufacturer, Sanjay, in Bangalore. I said, sir, what are we supposed to do? I said, this is all absurd. We can't do anything. We're too tired. We're just given up. So India requires a break in reforms. India requires healing. India requires no change. Let people settle down, find the world again, pump in liquidity. Now, rapid formalization, demonetization. So we got the GST filings, and we got UPI, we got cheap data, reduction in mobile cost. World-class products are being built. India Stack is open API. So any of you can use this to build your own companies tomorrow. It's free, open APIs available to all. And we're going to go from data poor to data rich. And when you become data rich, we can put in machine learning and AI to create those giant companies to improve processes and reach people. We are halfway there, and India will have some of the largest databases in the world. Ayushman Bharat will have the largest database about the human condition. Knowing all the diseases and finding patterns, you can find out new cures for human beings and enable Indians to live up to 100. Many of our political leaders will love that. So this is the benefit of the India Stack. In turnaround time to open a bank account has come down from 6 days to 1 hour. For a mutual fund account, from 4 hours to 4 hours to 1 day. 4 hours to 1 hour. Onboarding time for a SIM card is come down from 1 day to 4 minutes. And now paperless credit. There are a lot of these fintech companies, you give you credit, you go there, give your Aadhaar number, put your thumbprint, and they give you money within 30 days because they go to the web, take the digital exhaust, check up all the data, give you a credit score, money. And they raise $1.5 billion. And many of them are found by engineers, brilliant people who solve the problem of giving credit to people. But they forgot one important thing: when you lend money, you got to get it back. So half of them will lose their money. because they don't have MBS. MBS will possibly tell them that if you give money, you got to get it back. I hope MBS learned that in school. I don't know what they're taught now. So winning strategies. What should you do to win? Digitization has two things: improving efficiency, new kinds of business. So you can use it to improve efficiency, lower costs, reach consumers, and then the next thing is, how do you make sure that you can have new kinds of business because you can reach new markets all around the world. In this new world, what matters is not how big you are, but how smart you are. And once smartness wins over size, everybody has an equal chance. But all of you are smart people, right? You may not have money in the pocket, but all of you are very smart people, so you're all going to win. In 2019, enterprises spent $2.1 trillion on technology. The world GDP, I think, is 86 trillion, 1.2 trillion. And we're going to have personalization. That means with this digital technology, we can personalize to meet what you want. So I know exactly what Rekha thinks, what Rekha is going to do tomorrow. I can sell to Rekha, give her what I want, and after some time, I can control her mind and give her what I want her to buy. Okay? So now consumers have changed. People say, instead of spamming me, know me. Instead of forcing me, engage me. Instead of creating fiction, empower me. Now this don't spam me, don't force me, don't create fiction was my generation, where I said, please spam me, I want something. Force me because I don't know. And don't create fiction is okay, we're born to pain. Now all of you young people are saying, hey, I am separate. Tell me, know me and understand what I want. Don't make me think. And engage me so that I can do many things I want. And then empower me so I can decide for myself. Netflix does personalization. You see a movie for Netflix, and then you go back and go the next day. The movie it shows up will be based upon the pattern that you had in one movie. So if you go and say, see the first adventure films, at the top line only adventure films will come the next day. So you've got to be careful what you see. Don't see the wrong kind of movies there, because then only the wrong kind of movies will come.
Mohan?
But that's AI.
Mohan?
Yeah. 5 minutes, I finished. Now, Alibaba uses data, enormous amount of data, and 95% of all spoken and queries are handled by chatbots. I think this is fantastic. Alibaba uses profiles in Antworks. Antworks is the NBFC, worth $150 billion. So much of data to analyze and give you credit. Airbnb uses neural networks to personalize search. That means by personalizing search, you can create residences in places we are away from the city center, because all the hotels are in the city center. Spotify uses machine learning to create weekly personalized playlist. See the way it is being implemented. And Uber knows more about traffic than the government of India. Now the government of India knows much anyway. Not the state transport department. They don't know where traffic is. When the police don't know. But Uber knows exactly how the traffic is, what time, what pattern, and how it gets congested. Adidas uses 3D printing to create shoes. 3D printing has created shoes, has created bones, a skull, your foot bones. 3D printing has created rocket engines, racing engines, and they're creating blood vessels. They're creating a liver. So if you drink a single malt and the liver goes for a 6, you can hopefully get a new liver because they can print it for you. Gray Orange, one of this Indian robotics company, has created robots to take care of your warehouses. XJet, nanoparticle jetting technology for 3D printing to give you rich color. Additive manufacturing, you've seen that. Biochemical innovations, a lot of companies are happening. And this, Atlas, most dynamic humanoid. We're going to have robots fighting war. Very soon we're going to have in a war, the machines will go and fight the war themselves because you'll be controlling here. Right now in Nevada, you send those drones and all these unmanned vehicles to Waziristan to blast all those terrorists and come back. That's the way war is going to be fought. And like you saw in Star Wars, this robot can do a backflip. The robot can stand and do a backflip. He can run at 60 kilometers an hour like a cheetah. And they created all these robots. Very soon the robots will be able to have intelligence and understand, and maybe you'll control a robot, like in Avatar, right? The robot goes and you sit down and control the robot. It's actually happening in the world. And now, interesting thing, Sanjay, the robot has got dexterity in the finger for assembly, electronic assembly. What happens when you have this Foxconn? Foxconn had 1.1 million young girls working for it, assembling Apple phones. They went and told the boss, we want a raise. You want a raise? Then they replaced 50,000 young girls by 50,000 robots and said, we're going to have 500,000 robots. And the robots will ask for no raise. No increment. No work-life balance, all the silly things that we want. Okay, you want me to finish. Designer babies. This is interesting. You can actually make designer babies because of CRISPR technology. You can do DNA editing and you can change. And you get the right kind of intelligence. You've got to decide. So babies are no longer a chance occurrence. They're going to be thought to, they're going to be designed, and it's brilliant. Deep tech innovation. Google has done that. Indian company Seqtable can take saliva and find out your DNA and check up whether you got diseases. Bugworks has found a solution for superbugs. Autonomous system for patient monitoring in the ICU is there. Bloomberg can personalized search. They can use all the clutter in social media to check up stock prices. Space Now is transforming data into actionable intelligence. ZenDrive, smartphone and increasing driving behavior. Houndify, voice and conversation AI. Implant chips. You can put a chip in a head, in a body. So now very soon for kids, there's great hope. You don't have to go to college. Put a chip or you can download all the information from the cloud. Data refinery, Textico, initiate to improve internet access. You know Oyo, of course, the star of Delhi. Ola from Bangalore. Flipkart is doing it. Paytm is doing this. Hotstar is doing this. Clean mobility, Yulu, Ether in Bangalore. Open is a neobank that's doing wonderful things. Better place for blue-collar workers. Score data for data analytics. So, I'm ending.
Thank you.
The future is fluid and limited only by imagination. And we presume everybody's got great imagination. So digitization is rewriting the fundamentals, and this is an opportunity for all of you to capture. So go forth and become billionaires. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sanjay, it was very interesting, your opening comments on the way you talked about everything, including relationships that you said are becoming digital. And of course, Mohan, as always, a brilliant presentation. Global supply chain, AI, machine learning, technology mashups. That was an interesting concept, I thought, about India being data rich and the India advantage. And I think the question around security and so on is, of course, extremely critical. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the merging of the physical and the virtual worlds is truly ushering a bold new feature, presenting India a great opportunity to innovate and take lead. The much needed connectivity layer that will basically drive this entire digital ecosystem is something that the telecom sector creates, and proud to be part of this sector for over 25, 30 years. I think digitization in our context allows us as an organization to connect with our customers in an extremely personalized manner. So 330 million subscribers, but we can actually literally use digitization and the tools around artificial intelligence, chatbots and everything else to engage with our customers in a very personal manner. And that's the opportunity to all of you as industry leaders and as managers to be able to do it in your own organizations. 5G, something that Mohan touched upon, clearly a fully connected landscape with 1 billion plus connected devices, apart from creating a platform of digital society, is something that obviously will ask for all of us to make big adjustments. And clearly to succeed in the future, it will require for us as leaders, as managers, to work in terms of creating the right kind of blend between the physical and the digital world. On one hand, it's about fixing the physical infrastructure gaps, because no matter how the digital highway is, you still need to have physical infrastructure that needs to be in place. You still need to deal with people, and in this new evolving world, it's about how do we create massive opportunities for skill development and deployment. So, to take the Baiju example or more, but it's the amount of learning, unlearning, and relearning that needs to be done. The need for creating our own use cases. The India use cases are going to be extremely different from what China or US will come up with, and therefore to kind of work with that. But that said, for us to scale up and to meet our 5 trillion economy requirement, or $1 trillion digital economy requirement, it requires for us also to then actively engage in setting global standards. India going out there and the 3 million people that you talked about, Mohan, Indians out there. If we then therefore go out there and create standards that are globally acceptable, then balkanization stops, and that plays into the strength of India as a country. And of course, it means that we'll have to use all the levers to kind of win in this digital world ahead, industry, government, and services and administration working together in a collaborative manner. I might just want to end with a couple of more comments, and this is more about us as individuals, for ourselves, to lead ourselves in the future, or for our organizations. I think AIMA, with its fraternity of leaders, managers, and practitioners, needs to create the environment, not just for ourselves, which I know we always do, but around the whole of the country to either create disruption or to embrace disruption. One of those two things has to happen extremely rapidly. It's also about building personal resilience and organizational capability to handle the impact of disruption. If you fail, you need to be able to stand up and create the resilience with every one of us around in our organizations and beyond to be able to, in the ecosystem, rise up and be innovative all over again. Therefore, to foster innovation, learning, and experience. And more importantly, in my view, there is also a need for us, with our core competencies, to create high-impact social projects. Frankly, that's an important one because social projects of scale can be now done with digital technology that exists, and therefore that will help to bridge very rapidly the gap between urban India and rural Bharat. And therefore, the theme, if I were to say, is about all stakeholders collaborating and co-creating to accelerate execution. In my view, I think each one of us, if we were to take 5 people around us and bring them up very rapidly up the social ladder, the economic ladder, then I think we would have done a lot more because, as Sanjay, you said, smart people will succeed, and I'm sure all of us are smart here. But there are others who are equally smart but don't have the opportunity to kind of rise and shine in this digital world. And therefore, to that extent, I'd just like to conclude by saying that it's an area that we have an opportunity for us not just to move up, which we will, but to also take 3 or 4 people around with us, Indians, to kind of make the difference. And then, as Victor Hugo said, no power on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. And I think India's time is here and now. And to get to the 1 trillion digital economy or a 5 trillion economy is a matter of 4 to 5 years. Thank you very much.